This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy quick and simply. For more details, check it out with the link in the description. Life. Very much a mystery to science still. Where did it truly come from? All the plants, all the animals, all the fungus, which, fun fact, is technically not a plant or animal. It's its own thing. Anyway, at least in the Pokemon world, we don't have to worry too much about where life came from. It's all Arceus, Mew, Xerneas, etc. Essentially the deities of their world. But one thing that is extra curious are the grass-type Pokemon. Where do they belong? I mean, are they plants or are they animals? Thankfully, we covered that not too long ago, so you should check that out right here. Now then, this series is all about explaining why each Pokemon is given the type that it is, what are its origins, as well as uncovering a few that really should not be that type. And grass is the fourth largest group of them, 98 Pokemon as of right now. So let's hop it right to it. And rather than just going in order, we're going to break the Pokemon up into categories. The categories we've come up with are plant and animals canonically in symbiosis, fungus, then animals with plants on them, and then just plants, and then finally, other and not. Now, back to what you came for. First, and really the literal first, is Bulbasaur with the category plant-animal symbiosis. Let's explain what that means. Symbiosis is simply an interaction between two different organisms living in close physical association, typically to the advantage of both. Like sea anemones and clownfish, the fish gets protection from predators and the anemone gets a fish in its butt. Win-win! In Bulbasaur's case, it's literally a dinosaur frog thing with a plant on its back. It is said to have been planted there when it was born. Thus, frog monster and seed of a plant have a symbiotic relationship. In fact, according to the Pokedex, the seed is able to give energy to Bulbasaur when it needs it, and vice versa. As it evolves into Ivysaur and then Venusaur, it gets bigger. Way bigger. And thus more powerful. Next are Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye. Being owls with leaf-like feathers and tree-like traits would not make them part plant per se. They are based off of the common barn owl that was introduced to Hawaii, later called the Pueo owl, or possibly the eastern grass owl or African grass owl, hence the grass typing. But it is stated that these Pokemon can gain energy from its leaves via photosynthesis, so they do actually have leaves for some feathers. So either way, they benefit from each other, so they're symbiotic. Also, fun fact, deciduous trees are the trees that die in the winter, thus Decidueye being ghost type. Another grass starter line, Turtwig, Grotle, and Torterra are just turtles that have plants growing on them, and out of them. I mean, Torterra has dirt on it for the tree to grow. Oh, and hey, did any of you think that Grotle looked kind of like Spike from The Land Before Time? No? Just me? Okay then. Turtwig's Pokedex entries mention how it uses photosynthesis a bunch, hence the great example of a symbiotic relationship. Another sort of symbiotic Pokemon is Parasect. Yep, that weirdo with no eyes. In fact, this is more or less of a parasitic relationship rather than a symbiotic one. While Paras is a crab-bug-cicada thing, Parasect is actually the fungus or plant-like thing taking over the body and mind of the animal. Just listen to this chilling Pokedex entry from Gold. It stays mostly in dark, damp places. The preference not of the bug, but of the big mushrooms on its back. I mean, wow, poor little buggo, it doesn't even like damp. Although this is not far off from reality, there are known types of fungus that actually can take over the brains of ants, make them walk up to exactly a specific height and face north, then die, so that the shrooms can propagate its spores properly. So while a fungus rather than a plant, and while parasitic rather than symbiotic, this category and typing still feels best for this Pokemon. And that actually does it for the confirmed symbiotic Pokemon. I know, right? Plenty of other Pokemon seem to have symbiotic relationships with a plant and animal, and they probably do, but these are the only ones that are confirmed in canon to be symbiotic. Or parasitic. Anywho, since we ended with Parasect, next up we're gonna do Fungus, which, as stated, is not technically a plant. So you could consider all of these not grass type, though I wouldn't want them to add a fungus type. That's lame. So grass is the next best thing. Fungi are closer to plants than fire or rocks, after all. Though maybe they could add a biota type. That's what fungus falls under. There's flora, fauna, and biota. That would include bacteria and stuff. Anyway, fungus Pokemon. First up in this category is the most fungus Pokemon, Fungus and Amoonguss. Based on the phrase, there's fungus among us. These are straight up mushroom entities taking the appearance of Pokeballs. But still, they are literally red-capped mushrooms. Perhaps the Amanita muscaria. There you go. Next is Sheetonic and Morolol. Both very mushroom-based Pokemon as well. I sense a pattern here. Based off of the Moral and Shiitake mushrooms, these two Pokemon are known as the Illuminating Pokemon as they can glow like the Mienza group of mushrooms, which are actually bioluminescent. And this goes along with their lamp and nightlight inspirations as well. Finally, we have Breloom and Shroomish. Why a small little Mario mushroom turns into a weird stinky raptor with stretchy arms who knows how to fight, I'll never really know. But they are both very reminiscent of Agaricus mushrooms, which is the group of normal mushrooms that you'd eat here in the West. Both also have similar Pokedex entries to most of the other mushroom Pokemon. Take Shroomish's Dex entry. Shroomish live in damp soil in the dark depths of the forest. They are often found keeping still under fallen leaves. This Pokemon feeds on compost that is made up of fallen, rotted leaves. I mean, it's literally a mushroom. The forest's recycling centers. The little dudes that love decay. Without these fun guys, we'd have a big ol' mess in our hands. And our forests. Next category now, animal Pokemon that have plants on them. This could be plants growing on them, or perhaps they use external plants as decoration. Either or. First up are Swadloon, Sewaddle, and Leavanny. Very fabric-oriented Pokemon. Sewaddle doesn't sow as in sowing a seed, though good job for that double pun, Game Freak. No, it's about its ability to sew together clothing from leaves. I mean, Swadloon is literally the leaf-wrapped Pokemon. Its Dex entry says, it protects itself from the cold by wrapping up in leaves. It stays on the move, eating leaves in forests. So this line are bugs wearing leaf clothes, sort of inspired from leaf bugs. So question now, if we made leaf clothing for other Pokemon, would they become grass type too? After them come Sawsbuck and Deerling. Both are based off of little deer and bucks. However, their coat and antlers change based off of the season. As we all know, seasons change what plants do and look like, just like how bucks will lose antlers and regrow them throughout the seasons. However, I don't think their antlers grow a full tree with berries on it, meaning I don't think these antlers are wood. I don't think these are like little bonsai trees on its head. Rather, I feel like these Pokemon grow these antlers the same way real-life deer do. But then, they decorate themselves with seasonal plants. What's cool is that there's actually a type of deer, the Pierre David's deer, that actually decorates their antlers with foliage to attract mates, just like Sawsbuck. Awesome! Though, perhaps the plants it puts on the antlers manage to still wind up growing, because Pokemon powers. Treeko, Grovyle, and Sceptile are cool dudes, very fashion-forward with their cool leaves in the mouth, way before Pangoro and Pancham started copying them. They are also based off of wood geckos, and who would have guessed it? Wood is part of a plant. So boom! There you go. However, they do seem to be more like plants the more they evolve. Did you know that Sceptile grows nutrient-rich orbs on its back that it can use to grow trees faster? Also, its tail is pretty much a tree. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I guess we'll go to Chespin, Quilladin, and Chestnut next. Being sort of a hybrid of a chestnut and a chipmunk and a hedgehog thing, and well, I guess that's about it. While these aren't inherently very planty, as it doesn't exactly have plants on it, that seems to be because it's basically half plant, half animal in its structure. But even then, only sort of. You see, it's covered in spines that are wood-like in structure, and that helps its strength. It's like a hard chestnut shell for armor. So that's the plant. There you go. Chestnut shells. And speaking of hedgehoggy, spiky things that just have grass on them, Shaymin is essentially that, being a cute little white hedgehog chia pet. Then when it form changes, it really loses its grassy coverage, but it keeps the little flower on its neck. So it's possible that this one is also a plant, but being that it changes form and loses a lot of its plant material, I'm gonna have to say it's an animal with a flower on its neck. And then it likes to keep leaves on its back for decoration when it doesn't need to fly. Now, Pansage and Simisage. Two dudes. Simisage seems to be based off of some cool monkey Yankee or Japanese delinquent. It's also one of the three wise monkeys, it being speak no evil, hence it's seemingly using gestures for communication. Simisage's Dex entry mentions that it strikes its enemy with a thorn-covered tail, and that the leaf on its head is bitter, which leads me to believe that these are plant-covered Pokemon. I mean, why else would the midsection and face still be monkey color? Skiddo and Go-Goat are, well, it's a goat that has a bush coat. Did you know that there are some sloths that actually have plants growing on their fur coats? It's true, look it up. That's why they have green on their backs. Also, these Pokemon have leafy collars, likely based on their mythos, as fauns and satyrs of Greek mythology, goat people, normally wore wreaths of green leaves around themselves. Virizion is one of the Swords of Justice, which are based off of the Three Musketeers. This Pokemon is based off of Aramis, the most skilled swordsman. And, I mean, you can't have the best swordsman not have the move Leaf Blade without Stab. That would not be fair. He also was the most elegant and feminine of the Three Musketeers, which may be fitting for grass as green and pink are much more feminine colors. As to why it's in this category and not just a plant, I mean, look, it looks kinda like a strange ungulate with big old grass coat and a really tight hood. Realistically, there isn't enough information to say that it is just a plant or not, but in all likelihood, it's some sort of ungulate, probably a weird combination of these ones. This is one of those Pokemon that's like super unique, so you can't exactly pinpoint an origin. I want more like this, but not like this, if you know what I mean. Lotad, Lombre, and Ludicolo are just great. I love Ludicolo so much. Being based off of lily pads and, I guess, Mexicans, these animals don't necessarily need their leaves. It's stated that it searches about for clean water. If it does not drink water for too long, the leaf on its head wilts. Meaning that, really, its leaf isn't a part of it, but does grow on it. Also, the name Ludicolo contains colo, which could refer to the colocynth, a plant that bears a round yellow and green fruit, much like Ludicolo's sombrero. Tangela and Tangrowth are great. Unpopular opinion, but I love Tangrowth. And these guys essentially are beings with a sweater made of mom's spaghetti, and not even the good kind. Probably made out of something your mom wants you to eat, like zucchini. I actually prefer those. Pasta with real nutrients. Anyway, it's actually stated that its real identity is obscured by masses of thick blue vines, and they are said to never stop growing, and they also regenerate rapidly. So there's no telling what is beyond this ball of vines growing out of this strange creature? Question mark. Wormadam is literally just an adult female bagworm that gathers things in its environment to create its bag or a protective shell. The grass-type variant just happens to live in a forest environment, so it grabs sticks, twigs, and leaves. Phantump, Trevenant, Gourgeist, and Pumpkaboo are all really similar. Rather than animals, though, they are ghosts that have inhabited an object, in this case a plant. Phantump and Trevenant are based off of Japanese folklore about the Kodama, a spirit that inhabits old elder trees. And Pumpkaboo and Gourgeist are based more on jack-o'-lanterns, which are made of pumpkins, which are a gourd, which is a plant. There you go. And finally we have Delmise. Again, just a ghost inhabiting the remains of a sunken ship. However, this Pokemon is much more grass-based as it uses kelp as its primary body. Kelp that then holds onto an anchor and other ship parts. And kelp is basically seagrass. Sea? Grass! Get it? You see it, and it's from the sea. Also, I like how the kelp is wrapped around this part of the anchor to make scary teeth shapes. Now, on to the next category. The ones that really put grass in grass type. Pokemon that are literally plants. Not animals or ghosts, but plants themselves. But now that I think about it, Delmise is the only real grass Pokemon as it's based on seagrass. No other Pokemon really is grass by normal standards. Like, yeah, some have blades that look like grass, but they aren't. They're just sharp leaves and wood. Can't wait to have a literal grass Pokemon. Anyways, let's get started. First is Chikorita, Bayleaf, and Meganium, who are pretty much weirdo pears that turn into flowers. Sure, it winds up in the shape of a dinosaur, but I'd still say they are just plant parts. I mean, the names even. Chikorita comes from chicory, a flowering plant, then literally just Bayleaf, then Meganium, literally a flowering plant. Also, the Pokedex states that it loves to bask in the sunlight, and it seeks out warm places. This is definitely a plant-like thing. Either that or a lizard, I guess, but I'm definitely leaning more towards plant for sure. Bellossom is one of the few flower Pokemon we see in the game. That was sarcasm. Bellossom is essentially an upside-down Oddish with flowers instead of little legs. Being based off of a hula dancer and with Pokedex entries relating it to a bell for its nice chiming sounds, it's definitely a sentient plant. It's very interesting evidence. Doesn't point to it being a plant at all, but I mean, look at it, it's a plant. Oddish, Gloom, and Vileplume are too. This group is pretty odd, but not that odd. Only slightly odd-ish. If I had $1 for every time I've used this joke, I'd have like $7. If we look at Oddish's Pokedex entry, it may be mistaken for a clump of weeds. If you try to yank it out of the ground, it shrieks horribly. We can easily tell that it's based off of the mandrake root. I mean, just imagine the mandrakes from Harry Potter. Yeah, that's the one. These plants were actually used by all sorts of real witches and stuff back in the day. Also the Bible. Gloom and Vileplume, then, are based off of stinky flowers. Unlike Bellossom's sweet scent, Vileplume is based off of the corpse flower, a type of plant that instead of using sweet scents to attract bees and butterflies, it uses rotten smells to attract flies and such. It still gets the job done. Sunkern and Sunflora are based off of the sunflower and a sunflower seed. Being entirely plants and super forgettable Pokemon, I feel you already know why this is a grass-type Pokemon. Seedot, Nuzleaf, and Shiftry are based off of, well, plants, but more realistically they are based off of Tengu, or little trickster goblins with long noses. And it actually starts with Acorn Boy over here, Seedot. I mean, he loves to scare Pokemon. Listen to this Pokedex entry. If it remains still, it becomes impossible to distinguish from real nuts. It delights in surprising foraging Pidgey. Poor Pidgeys. Too bad they still have a type advantage over the stupid nut. They probably will still eat it. Anyway, Tengu can be wood spirits, and Tengu masks are mostly made of wood too. So then it's easy to assume this whole line is nutty, made of wood and tree parts. Cacnea, Cacturn, and Maractus, no relation, are based off of cactuses, cacti, Cacapotidae, whatever it is. Being based off of cactus makes things really simple. Really just as simple as Sunflora's sunflower basis. It's just these are way cooler. 3 of my favorite Pokemon for sure. Cherubi and Cherrim are both based off of the fruiting part of a cherry tree. Essentially, plant ovaries. Yeah, think about that the next time you eat an apple. Enjoy. Cherrim is more or less the blossom of a cherry tree, so more like the tree's junk. The whole complete package. Bounsweet, Steenie, and Serena are all based off of the mangosteen plant. And a dominatrix, maybe? I don't know, this is a kid's show, I'm not sure. Anyways, the mangosteen is a plant with very hard outer leaves, hence these Pokemon having large upper leaves. All the while, the mangosteen is a very fragrant and sweet-smelling fruit, also known as the Queen's Fruit, as it was actually found on an expedition for the Queen herself to find a new fruit. Crazy. And it also explains the name Serena, as it contains Russian for queen. It's the Queen's Fruit. Snivy, Servine, and Serperior are just snakes with tiny little legs, which is a thing actually. A long, lying lizard. Stupid science. But I'd argue that rather than these guys being vine-like snakes, they are snake-like vines. There's heavy emphasis on vines or ivy, plus they are entirely green and got leafy bits all over. That's my argument anyway. These are vines with snake properties, not the other way around. Carnivine. While being a great Pokemon from the anime, I can't say that I really remember it in the game, though I did love it in Pokemon Conquest. But anywho, I do know that it is 100% without a doubt a plant. I mean, just look at it. It's essentially just a really big Venus flytrap, but with googly eyes, and it loves to eat James's head. What more can I say? Petilil and Liligant are 2 dancing plant Pokemon that are very feminine. Either way, they are based off of plants. I mean, people even eat Petilil's leaves. As it stated, the leaves on its head are very bitter, but eating one of these leaves is known to refresh a tired body. I would say that they are based somewhat off of the tulip, while Petilil could also be a generic garlic or onion bulb, or just flower bulb due to its bitter leaves and health properties. Leafeon is the grass-type Eevee, so it could possibly be an animal, but I feel like its artwork helps allude to the leaves almost fading into the creature seamlessly, making it more plant than animal. And if you don't believe me, listen to this Pokedex entry. Its cellular composition is closer to that of a plant than an animal. It uses photosynthesis to produce its energy supply without eating food. So boom, more of a plant than an animal. Fomantis and Lurantis are not bug type, just grass type. And that's just where the trickery begins, as it's a plant trying to hide itself from predators by looking like its predators, which is funny because it's based off of the orchid mantis, which actually look like flowers to hide from their prey before they strike their prey. Funny how dressing like your enemy always seems to help. Maybe take a walk in their shoes, find out their perspective on life, you know? Just because they have the opposite thoughts and opinions that you do doesn't mean they're a bad person, though you could always just wait and eat them when they lower their guard. Bellsprout, Weepinbell, and Victory Bell are all super great in the original game, or at least I loved them, but maybe that's the anime talking again. What's up with poor James and getting his head eaten? It must stink, as they are all based off of pitcher plants, plants that use either sweet or rank scents to draw insects into their pitcher, only for them to be eaten alive by their stomach juices. Pretty dark stuff. Execute and Executor are not cute at all. In fact, they should be named Eggs Are Gross. And strangely, this plant thing isn't even eggs. What the heck? Being some weird pun on eggplants or something, or better yet being based off of coconuts, with their soft flesh and liquid inside a dense shell, further proof is crabrawlers love to hunt them as it's based off of the coconut crab who eats coconuts. And let's not forget about a lowland executor. I mean, it's literally a palm tree with some faces. But now, if execute aren't eggs, what are they? Well, they are tree eggs. In other words, seeds. They're seeds. But then why does the broken one look like a broken egg? Well, because that's what broken seeds can look like too. They are made up of germ and endosperm, which can be yellow, just like that. Tree eggs! Hoppip is a root. Yeah, that's about all there is to it. It's a root, and it hops around. I mean, the real reason you can tell it's a root is because of the Japanese name. It points towards a root by basically being directly translated as jumping leaf-winged root. And it kinda does look like a radish, doesn't it? The other evolutions are more so based off of dandelions and such, especially Jumpluff. I mean, it's just 3 poofy balls that as kids you loved to make wishes on, but as an adult you hate them because it just spreads more of the weed all over. And then your next door neighbor kid gets one, and then, well, you can't technically deprive him of a wish, but good lord, now you have a yard filled with weeds! Well, yes, they are based off of living weeds that love to propagate via the wind. Next up is Badoo, Roserade, and Roselia, all being based off of flowering plants, specifically the rose. I know, shocking, isn't it? Other things about them, let me see. Roserade is one of my favorite Pokemon. I even have a custom pillow of it. Oh wait, that came out wrong. It's not like one of those pillows. It's, for the couch, like a couch pillow. Here's a picture. It's the Pokemon Shuffle face. And if you want a Pokemon Shuffle pillow, there's a person you can commission that I've linked to in the description. Thanks a bunch to them. I also have a life-size Cacnea plush made by her. It's neat. Anyways, moving on. Next we have Snover and Obama Snow. Obama Snow, who are based off of snow-covered carnivorous trees. Essentially, they are fir trees covered in snow. They're snowed over. Snover. And Obama Snow also has elements of the Abominable Snowman, but cosplaying as a large tree. It also could be based off of the concept of a Jughew, which is a very, very snow-covered tree. Like, it's really just a pile of snow and maybe 1 or 2 branches sticking out. Then we have Cottonee and its evolution Whimsicott, being based off of, you guessed it, a plant. So they land themselves in grass type. That plant happens to be the cotton plant if you couldn't guess by its name and just being a bit of cotton, and then 2 E's afterwards. Essentially a small cotton or a wee cotton. It's even got the characteristic little bit of stem on its back, which brings up the question, are plant-based Pokemon grown? Do they actually reproduce the same way as normal Pokemon? Like, I know in the games they're all bred traditionally and have eggs, but like, there's a huge difference between gameplay and lore in these games. Could you go down to the farmer's market and purchase a Cottonee plant seed? Also, Whimsicott can take its fluffy bits off. It's like clothes, which are often made of cotton, so maybe that's the idea, but yeah. What's up with that? Is it like a sentient stick or stem? Just walks around naked sometimes? Who knows? Next Pokemon is Ferroseed and Ferrothorn. Being based off of the idea of hard-shelled seeds, these little Pokemon are encased in a hard-as-steel coating. Many real-life plants share this evolutionary advantage of incredibly hard shells. I mean, have you tried to open a durian? Also, it looks almost exactly the same as a horse chestnut. Just look. Then Ferrothorn gets the bright idea of swinging around little versions of itself as a flail. Truly an ingenious Pokemon. Celebi is a weird onion fairy thing. Why it's not fairy type, I'll explain in a later video. But we do know it's for sure grass type, because, well, 1, it's the protector of the forest, and that's filled with grass, along with the fact that it kind of looks like an onion bulb, and grass is technically classified as a bulb-like plant, so it could totally be grass. And there's also the whole Dex entry about grass and trees flourishing in the forests in which it has appeared. That helps too. It's got super plant powers. And that does it for plant Pokemon. And if you're savvy, you know that I'm missing a few. And you're right. And that's because they're in the next category, which I've aptly titled, I have no idea what category these go in, so I'm just gonna put them at the end of the video. See? Catchy category title. Let me know if you want shirts of that. You can also call this Other and Not. Anyways, in this category up first we have Kartana, which is a magically super thin and super sharp origami samurai. And I suppose grass type works, as it's paper. We all know paper is made of wood, and wood is a plant, but it's heavily processed paper. That's like saying steel type shouldn't exist because steel is just heavily processed rock. You know? These are 2 completely different things. But then again, what type would it be instead? I suppose that's the only reason it's grass, because what else would it be? Normal? It's not steel because it's paper. Though it's sharp as steel, maybe steel would still work, Next is Tapu Bulu, which is a bull-headed totem guardian. Though the fact that it's part wood matters not to its grass typing in this case, as the other wood Pokemon are live wood, and this is dead wood. I mean, it's part of a totem pole mask thing. Also, the other 3 Tapus aren't grass type because they have wood bits. No, in fact, Tapu Bulu gets its grass typing from what its domain is over. It's said that it causes vegetation to grow and then absorbs energy from the growth. And it has the ability to command plants to hold Pokemon in place while it attacks, which truly gives it mastery over plants. So grass type powers for sure. Also, being based off of Lolo, the Hawaiian god of agriculture, helps a lot too. However, it's not really a plant or an animal, landing it here in the other or not category. It's got plant powers, and I guess that's the only reason it's grass type. And next up we have Lileep and Cradily. And now you might be thinking, wait a minute, Loxton, those are plants. And well, you're wrong. How could you be so wrong? Well, I don't blame you. But in fact, they are just normal animals commonly mistaken as plants. They are based off of crinoids, which is a family of sea star that was thought to be extinct until recently. And they are not plants. They are animals, just like the sea anemone. They are technically in the class of Animalia, so not plants. These Pokemon should really be water rock type if they were true to their origins. So they have reasons for not being grass for sure. And they aren't the only ones, because we've got Rotom here again. Truly a jack of all traits, but master of none. This little electric ghost possesses objects to change its type. And in this case, we're looking at Rotom. It's possessed a lawnmower. I mean, Rotom is electricity and metal now. It's not made of grass or plant at all, in any capacity. I don't even understand. I mean, I guess it does now have power over grass. Really, it shows grass who's boss all the time by clipping it. But I mean, Scyther and Bisharp aren't grass, and they cut plants all the time. On top of this, the only grass-type moves it learns is Leaf Storm. I suppose it's a lawnmower with a bag, and Rotom can just shoot the grass back out at rapid speeds. But if Delibird stuffed grass and leaves into its bag and threw it at its enemy, would Delibird be grass-type now? No! Almost every Pokemon can learn moves outside of their own type, because it has the ability to use that move while not actually being that thing, which is what the type of the Pokemon is supposed to be all about, at least primarily. And using that logic, I'd argue that Rotom should not be grass type. Steel would work much better, as it's using steel blades. But it can still learn that one grass type move, even if it was steel, that's fine. It's a super strong grass type move anyway. Rotom's one of the best Rotoms to do, in terms of raw power, for that move. Ugh. Now then, if we really wanted to stretch it, you could actually argue that most grass-type Pokemon are not grass at all, though it's a technicality on par with most poison-type Pokemon not being poisonous but venomous. Most of the Pokemon in this type aren't even a grass. Thus, they should be plant-type instead, or plant-type and also biota-type. I mean, the Turkish translation has plant-type, though that's only occasionally in the anime dub. But also, heck, even some of the gym leaders call them plant Pokemon instead of grass Pokemon, so I'm pretty sure this is a case of just visualizing what you call them. I suppose any of them work, and plant or leaf type didn't sit well with them enough, I suppose. Nothing wrong with calling it grass type, it's just not the most technically correct. But caring about such trivial things is meaningless, so let's just have fun. And those were all the grass type Pokemon, like Bulbasaur here. Oh, what's that? You're concerned about your online security and privacy? Oh, okay. Well, let me show you what I use. ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN protects you from being tracked by everyone, your ISP, your cell data provider, hackers, ad companies, and more. Yeah, even Rotom. It even encrypts all your data, and it's surprisingly really fast at it. It masks your IP address so websites can't identify you, and you can make them think you're in a completely different place entirely. Now, this is my favorite part about using it. Video or online service not available in your country? Just move to another country in one easy click. It's all so easy to set up, and what's really cool is that it's not just for PC, but also Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, and even many routers. Yeah, so all of the data on your home network is safe. Your data remains your business, and it's under $7 a month, has a 30-day money-back guarantee, and by clicking the link below, you can get a special deal. 3 months free with a 1-year package. Just go to expressvpn.com/Gnoggin. Take back your internet privacy today. Also, I was really excited about this. So until next time, please remember to never stop using your noggin, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully, on this video, right here. It's really cool. You'll love it. I know you will.